Welcome back. Welcome. It's the second week in Advent, right? Well, Christmas is getting closer and closer, right? And today we're going to read a Christmas book, of course. This one is about a girl that we've already read 2 books about. A whole year ago, we read 2 stories about a girl called Grace who lives in England and wants to be a dancer, she likes to dance and she likes to act out stories. Do you remember these 2 books? Amazing Grace and Princess Grace, in which we meet Grace, of course, Nana, her grandmother, and her mom. And we also meet or hear about a dancer called Rosalie, who is the granddaughter of Nana's best friend from back in Trinidad. Well, now that we've caught up in remembering who Grace is and who her family members are, let's read. Grace at Christmas, written by Mary Hoffman, with illustrations by Cornelius Van Wright and Yinghua Hu. Grace loved Christmas. It was her favorite day of the year, even better than her birthday. She loved the tree with all its colored lights and fancy baubles, the presents piled up underneath it, going to church with Ma and Nana on Christmas morning, and then coming back for a huge dinner. And she loved acting out the Christmas story, too. When she couldn't get anyone else to join in, she was Mary, Joseph, and all the shepherds and angels as well. And Papa, her cat, had to be the animals in the stable, even though he didn't like dressing up as much as Grace did. Grace especially liked it when Ma and Nana joined in and they could be the 3 wise men together, carrying presents for the baby. "This part is better," said Grace. 3 kings and 3 of us. We don't really have enough people in our family to act out the whole story. As long as Grace could remember, it had been just her, Ma, and Nana for Christmas. "Well, Grace," said Ma one morning late in December, "it looks as though we're going to have some extra people to stay. Maybe they'll join in your Christmas play this year." "What people?" asked Grace. She wasn't sure she was going to like having strangers to stay. "You remember Rosalie, the ballet dancer?" asked Nana. "My old friend's granddaughter." "Is a ballet dancer coming?" asked Grace. "That would be wonderful, like having a real Christmas tree fairy in the house." "No," said Nana, "it's her sister and her niece. They can't get a flight back to Trinidad, so we said that Anita and her little girl can stay with us. Savannah is just your age, Grace." "It will be fun for you," said Ma. But Grace wasn't sure it would be fun at all. For a start, she would have to give up her room to these visitors. "We can't say no room at Christmas time, can we, Grace?" said Ma. "Christmas is a time for families," said Nana. Grace thought, "But they aren't my family. I wish we had a stable for them." But she didn't say it. She grumbled to her friends at school, though. "I know," said Kester. I have to let my auntie have my room and sleep on the sofa. We have to have both sets of grandparents, and it's all a big squash until they go," said Maria. "You could come and sleep at my house," said Amy. "I don't think Ma would let me," said Grace. "Maybe the savannah will be nice," said Raj. But when Savannah and her mother arrived 2 days before Christmas, Grace didn't think she was going to get along with her. Savannah was very quiet, and she didn't seem interested in any of Grace's books or toys, and she didn't seem very grateful to be given Grace's room either. The only thing she liked was Papa, who sat on her lap, purring. "She's not very friendly," Grace whispered to Nana as she snuggled into a camp bed in Nana's room. "She's like one of those pink princesses I decided I didn't want to be." "I expect she's just shy, Grace," said Nana. "Give her time. It's hard being in a stranger's home." Grace hadn't thought of that. She thought Savannah was the stranger, not her. The next day, before the visitors got up, Grace called her Papa in the Gambia. She was sure he would understand how she felt. But Papa said, "Your Ma and Nana are doing a kindness for a friend, Grace. You must make your guests welcome." "I wish it could be you coming to have Christmas with us," said Grace. "You and Jatu and Nina and Bakari." "I don't think your Ma would like that," said Papa. Grace knew he was right, but she felt sad that she would never celebrate Christmas with her Ma and Papa together. But later that day, Grace heard noises coming from her room. She opened the door quietly and found Savannah lying on her bed and crying. "What's the matter?" said Grace. Are you ill?" "No," sobbed Savannah, "but I want to be in my own room, in my own house, with my own family. And I'm sad because this year we won't be having Christmas with my daddy back on the island." Grace could understand this. "I'm sorry," she said. "I won't have Christmas with my papa either. He doesn't live with us anymore. He has another family in Africa. But we can try to make it a Merry Christmas for us both just the same." Savannah dried her eyes and asked Grace to tell her all about her family. Grace was surprised that she and Savannah were becoming friends. She got Savannah to tell her all about her Aunt Rosalie. "Nana took me to see her dance once," Grace said. "It was the best thing ever." "I've only seen her dance once," said Savannah. "She's usually on tour, like now." "Would you like to play ballet dancers?" asked Grace. "I've got lots of clothes in my dress-up box." Soon the two girls were twirling around the bedroom in Nana's old lace curtains. But imagine their surprise when at supper time the real ballet dancer turned up. It was Rosalie, just back from her tour, with armfuls of presents for her sister and her niece, and lots for Grace's family too. "It's so good of you to give them a nice family Christmas," she said. "I have to stay in a hotel, and I start rehearsals again the day after Christmas." "Come back and have Christmas Day with us then," said Grace. "Nana always makes lots of food, Savannah and I are going to put on a Christmas play. Oh, then I'd love to join you if it's all right with your Ma and Nana, said Rosalie. Grace was thrilled. They were going to have a real live ballerina with them on Christmas Day. After church and before dinner, there was a proper Christmas play in Grace's apartment. Savannah was Mary, and Grace was Joseph. Anita was an angel, and Ma and Nana were shepherds. Nana doubled up as the innkeeper, saying, "No room." "Your Nana would never say that," Savannah whispered to Grace. "She'd let everyone in." "It's much more fun with lots of people," said Grace. Then Anita, Ma, and Nana changed costumes and became wise men, while Grace and Savannah stayed in the stable with Papa. He kept wanting to get in the manger with the baby doll, because Grace had lined it with straw. Rosalie was an audience of one. She clapped and cheered them all. Then she asked if she could dance for them. "I brought my point shoes," she said. And there, right in Grace's living room, wearing clothes from the dress-up box, a proper ballerina danced a solo for them all. "Did you have a good day, Grace?" asked Nana when all the celebrations were over and Rosalie had gone. "It was the best Christmas ever," said Grace. "Can they all come again next year?" The end. So, remember, Grace didn't want strangers in her house at Christmas, right? And then it turned out to be what? The best Christmas ever. They all had so much fun putting on a proper Christmas play with lots of people playing the different parts, right? And I had to laugh when Grace told everyone at the end, "Can they all come back next year?" Good for Grace. She learned that change is not always bad, right? As people, we love things to be exactly the same, and it can be tough for us to say, "Oh, okay, things are different, and I don't want them to be different. I want them to be exactly the way that they were before." But we're going to have to roll with the flow, right? Go with the flow, roll with the flow, and learn that, yeah, even though things are sometimes different, doesn't mean that they're bad, right? Or that there aren't wonderful things to come out of it, right? The Bible kind of says something to the effect that God takes all things and turns them into good. Sometimes that's really hard to see, isn't it? Because sometimes really sorrowful, awful things can happen. And we keep thinking, how are you going to turn this into good, God? But that's kind of what we need to trust. That God knows and sees what's going on and is with us. And knows that, yeah, it's going to be okay, right? So I'll see you next week. Oop, another Christmas story. It'll be the third week in Advent. I haven't yet determined which of those Christmas books I got this year we're going to read. See you next week, okay?